What is rosin? Where does it come from and how do you use it and how does it function in the violin outfit? So rosin is this little bit of glassy, orangey, yellow, brown coloured substance that you'll find in a new violin case. Or if you bought the violin secondhand, it might also come with some. If you don't have any, you need to buy some, and I will link below where you can buy rosins of varying qualities. And I'll also write here some advice about what kind of rosin might be best for you as well, and I will also discuss that in the video. Okay, so the rosin that I have here is Pirastro Goldflex. This is a high-end rosin. They're about normally $10 to $20, sorry, euros, so a bit more in dollars. I'll link below. But this one is for a bright sound. I like a brighter sound. Also, I live in a tropical country, so the brighter, sort of more yellow-orange coloured ones are better because they do not melt in higher temperatures. Here's an example of one that has melted when it was stored in a room without air conditioning. That's what happens. It still works, but yeah, this one here is the Everperazi Gold rosin, which is also a brighter coloured rosin. But for some reason, the Goldflex rosin is more durable in tropical weather. So basically, the darker the rosin, the more likely it is to melt, I hear. So if you live in a hot country, buy a light coloured rosin, okay? And I'll Google those, I'll write links for those below. Another important point is not to mix very different types of rosin, because it can create I don't know, they're so different that they don't mix well, and then you can sometimes not get a very good sound from it. It can sort of become quite hard to produce a sound, but not for the same reason as a lack of rosin makes it hard to produce a sound. It's just not quite right. So I did do this once. I had the Pirastro Olive rosin and the Pirastro Gold and mixed the two, and it didn't work. I think that was right anyway. One was a very dark green and one was a very bright yellow. So if the colours are very different, they probably won't mix. The two rosins that I use, the Goldflex and the Gold Pirastro rosins, are more similar. So it's not the end of the world if I mix them, but I do have one bow that I use the Goldflex on, one bow and three bows that I use the Gold on, and I make sure that I don't mix them. I prefer the Perazi Gold for when I'm playing acoustic, and I prefer the Goldflex for when I'm playing with my band and I need to be as loud as possible. So this one, I believe, is a lighter coloured, and this one is slightly warmer in sound. So I'll write that below as well. So the Gold is warmer and the Goldflex is slightly brighter. Here is a bow that does not have rosin on, okay? This is what it sounds like. Okay, so as you can hear, there's not much sound there. It doesn't matter how hard I press the bow on the violin, it's not going to make any sound without rosin. So if you've got a new violin, it's very likely that you will not have any rosin on your bow. So you're going to need to put some rosin on the bow. So take your rosin. If it's brand new, you're going to need to scratch the surface of the rosin with a key or a coin or something like that, because it will be very shiny and you kind of need to break the seal. The rosin is made from the sap of pine trees, so the blood of a tree, and they remove it from the tree, they heat it up to a very high temperature, and then they let it cool and it becomes this hard substance. And it's a bit like glass. It's sticky, though when we scratch it, it becomes like a sticky white powder. So that sticky white powder is what creates the friction between the violin bow and the string, which produces the sound. So when you have enough of this on, so really scratch it up if you've got a new one, it will make your job a lot easier later, because we're going to be putting it on the bow. So we apply the rosin on the bow. I would hold it, if you're right-handed, hold the bow in your left hand and grab the rosin with the right hand, and obviously the other way around if you're left-handed. We're going to hold the bow here on the stick. Don't touch the hair with your fingers, because if you do that, then you add oil to the bow, which doesn't mix well with rosin. So we always want to keep the bow hair completely clear from dirt as much as we can by just not touching it, okay? Don't touch it, don't put any liquids on it, don't leave it on a dirty table, just keep your bow clean, okay? Now, grabbing the stick, not the hair, we're going to hold the bow, point it downwards, and I'm just holding it like this between my thumb and my finger to keep it steady. And we're going to take the rosin and we're going to move it up and down very quickly, like that. Up and down. This is so that we can apply the rosin efficiently as we're doing the same area over and over again. Because you need, especially on a new bow that's never been rosin before, you need a lot of rosin. So this might take you 5-10 minutes the first time to get a sound out of the bow. So up and down, 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 all over the length of the bow from the bottom to the top. So I'm not going to bore you by showing you how long it's going to take me to do this, because you have other things to do, I'm sure, but I'll just show you the difference between the unrosined bow and the rosined bow. So when I have a bow that has enough rosin on it, it should sound like this. Okay, so you've got sound. So if you have sound, then you have enough rosin on your bow. Be aware that every single part of the bow matters. So you need to rosin right to the very tip and right to the very bottom. Don't leave any bit unrosined. How often should you rosin? Good question. I normally say every 2 hours of playing time is about right. Normally when I update my rosin, freshen up the rosin, I just put it on for maybe, I'll show you. Not as intensely as I just did for the fresh one, so you might just want to do it for about 30 seconds, just up the bow, just freshen it up like that. And that should be enough. Okay, so I'm going to link below to where you can buy some rosin if you don't have it. If you did buy a new violin and it was a cheap rosin, then that rosin might be very low quality as well. So I'm going to put some budget options for people who just want to have a rosin that's good enough, rather than a fake imitation rosin that might come with a very cheap violin. If you just can't get the bow to work, then you might have something that's just not very good quality. You know, it looks like rosin, but it's not really rosin or something like that. So I don't know, but yeah, I'll recommend the best brands you can get. Once you've bought one, they last for years. So, you know, it's worth spending $10 on it if you've got it spare, because you're gonna not need one for a really long time. So why have a cheap rosin? Okay, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you want to book a one-to-one online violin lesson with me, then email theviolincoach@gmail.com. Details for that are in the description. Take care. Sawadee ka from Thailand.